Awesome. So here we are. Um, into it. It's a new day, and I'm going to be taking you through one of the intermediate labs that I did. So actually, I did the foundation part, and today I'll be doing the intermediate part. So without further ado, I believe you already know me. My name is Kevin Tui. I'm a cloud consultant. I'm an AWS community builder, as well as an LX Gold Fellow. So let us get on with this. Let us just load this. It up here. So we already know that through October up to October 31st, AWS training and certification released 3 AWS Builder Labs for free. And I decided to take my hands dirty about it, just see how it takes us here. So let us try this. Let us try this. Share the screen. Share the screen. Good. So here we are. So these 3 builder labs are all about getting to do DevOps. So if you don't understand what DevOps is all about, it's a practice of trying to ensure that you get software releases faster to the client, and also automate some software deployment and release, as well as automating testing. So it's just a way of trying to make sure that the development and the operations team can work together. And also you can combine these processes to ensure that there are faster and more frequent release cycles. So as you can see here, it's all about allowing independent team to iterate quickly, also avoid the cost of error-prone manual deployments by automating that, using the traditional software development infrastructure processes. So here you're now using modern DevOps, and there are 3 progressive builder labs. So this is the first one is all about working with code commit. And in this case, you are able to create a code commit repository, just like one of GitHub. It's a fundamental lab, nothing much about it, and just ensuring that you're able to use Git to push. You can leverage Docker, and also you can deploy a Docker application. So let us get to this one. This is all about trying to create a full CI/CD pipeline to deploy an app using Fargate. So just click here, open it. I'll do this in the next video. So as this is all about automating application testing using code build. So there are many others. So AWS Training and Certification offers a skill builder team subscription where you can get over 150 labs. There's also a free 7-day trial ongoing for a skill builder individual subscription. Feel free to check out, and there's a lot of amazing content by the AWS Training and Certification team. So once I load this, I'll log in. Now, previously people just used to maybe sign using an email or a builder. I mean Amazon, or even for Amazon employees could use single sign-on. But right now, there's a new feature using Build ID, which is a very good feature because you can have a Builder ID even without having to create an AWS or set up an AWS account. So let's get on with this and see how it takes us. So far, so good. So far, so good. So it's loading. Let's see how it takes. So let me just log in using my email address. Then I can just go to next, put my password, then I'll sign in. It is loading. So here you get taken through a guided tour where you just can be able to understand how to launch and complete the lab. So when you click on it, you're told this is where you look at the lab instructions in this middle area. In this lab header just tells you what the lab is all about. Today we are doing about creating a CI/CD, continuous integration and continuous deployment pipeline to deploy your app onto AWS Fargate. So this also has the option to start the lab, which are going to be used. The good thing is with an Builder Lab, you get a sandbox account, which means that you don't get any charges to any of your personal as well as your business AWS accounts. Then there's a help panel where you can look at troubleshooting, some of the frequently asked questions, as well as resources. At any time, you can change the language at this point in time. We're still using English, so no need of changing, and also the user menu here. So here you can choose the theme you want, whether you want it as a light or a dark theme, maybe as a preferences. And always you can share the feedback, and also we just ended the tour. Hope you enjoy. So we're going to enjoy. So let's click on start. You agree to the terms and conditions, then start the lab. So it says that it's going to take us approximately 1 hour. Hopefully it's going to take us less time as we move on with this. So, so as it provisions, let us look at what is here. Let me see if I can just zoom out a bit. That. So what do we expect here? So let's see, you're going to see how you can build a fully managed CI/CD pipeline for applications that run on ECS, the Elastic Container Service. And then we're going to use code pipeline to model, orchestrate, and visualize a 3-stage pipeline to deploy a containerized application using the blue-green deployment strategy. So this strategy is all about creating a new version of the application that runs alongside the old version, then slowly shifts the traffic to the new version. So that is what we call the blue-green deployment strategy. So blue-green deployments are usually employed when performing in-place application upgrades. And just know that administrators can use these to validate new code while simultaneously running the old version of the application. So if there are any errors detected in the new code, the deployment can easily be rolled back very quickly and reliably. So once we complete, the pipeline will automatically build a new container image. So if you know about containerization, you know an image is like a blueprint for creating your containerized application. Whenever new code is pushed to a source repository, and then you're going to use code deploy and Amazon ECS to manage the deployment and shift traffic to it. So in this lab, you're going to use Cloud9, which is a cloud IDE. We're going to use code build to help us in picking from the source and building the image from the application code from the repository. We're going to use code commit for the source as a source repository. We're going to use code deploy to just transfer our application to our working area, for example, in ECS. And then we're going to use code pipeline to automate the whole 3-stage CI/CD pipeline from source to building to deployment. And then we're going to also leverage ECR as a registry for our container images. And then we're also going to use ECS to store our application or to just show our application. So what is our objective? So you're going to be should be able to configure code commit as a source control repository for the application. That's not too much work. Then you're going to create a code build project and that uses a build spec file, which is very important. A build spec file is the one that is going to be referenced by code build to learn how it's going to build the Docker image and save it to Amazon ECR using an auditable and secure methodology. So security is very important so that we can be able to just ensure that all things are working. Then also going to create an appspec.yaml file and a task.def.json files that contain dynamic fields for use in blue-green deployments. And then we're going to now finally perform an in-place application upgrade using a blue-green deployment strategy configured in code deploy as Amazon ECS, which is going to now leverage these files, the appspec.yaml and the task.def.json files. So you just need a computer that is running on Windows, macOS, or Linux, and then a browser such as Chrome and Firefox to do this. So these are just for the icon keys. What should expect? A command will look like that. Expected output, note some additional information. What you need to pause and consider, something that is very important to note, and also an opportunity to incorporate security best practices will also look like that. So we have already clicked on Start Lab. So we are waiting for the Builder Lab to provision some of the services that you're going to need. And once we'll open the console, we'll be logged in there where we are. So the moment I see this, I'll just click log out so that I'm logged out of my personal business AWS accounts. So if you have another error that choosing Start Lab as default, maybe check on maybe if you have a pop-up or script blocker that may stop the ability to click on Start Lab. Then, so in our first step, we're going to connect to the basic application that displays news about AWS. So the application has been deployed on ECS using the Fargate launch type. After exploring the application, we're just going to review how the ECS cluster, service, and task definition has been configured. So the application is going to be displaying news about AWS. Then you're going to review the application functionality. And then in the left of the instructions here, you're going to see after the provisioning is done, we're going to be able to see some values and the instructions. So we're going to get the value in both the load balancer URL and copy the clipboard into a new browser tab and click enter. So it will maybe we'll expect the application to pull out the list of recent announcements related to AWS service, and each item will include a very brief summary in addition to the headline that links to a blog post that provides now the full details about that announcement. So the website background is blue, but in the subsequent steps, you'll update the application source code and then build a CI/CD pipeline to deploy the change. If successful, the newly deployed application features will have a green background. That's nice. Then you're going to now, in this step, take a moment to scroll through the list of announcements that interest, select an headline, and open page information about it. So now that we have seen how the application works, we're going to review now the configuration in ECS, and then going to open the ECS console. Just maybe search from ECS in the Amazon AWS console. And then we're going to choose new ECS experience, which needs to be enabled. And then this is an important concept to understand that in ECS, a task consists of one or more containers and their configuration that are scheduled by ECS. So remember that you can create tasks independently or even as part of a service. So when it is instantiated independently, a task will launch containers which run until the time the task is ended or the containers exit. So our lab is ready. We're going to see that. Then upon termination, no further containers are launched. By contrast, services ensure. So let's look at this about services. So that was all about tasks. So for services, ensure that a specified number of tasks are running at all times. Services provide administrators with just more granular control and more fine-grained control over the task placement and scaling, and can be automatically associated with a load balancer. So I think I don't want to scroll too much. So you're going to see how these steps work out. So allow me to pull these to the side. So I'll copy the load balancer URL that is here. I'll open it in a new tab. That's the beauty of a Builder Lab. It's just going to hold your hand as you move this through. So you can see it is pulling the last news. As you can see, AWS Elemental Media Converter now supports video source replacement. So these are new things. There's another service called AWS Atomics. Really not interested about that now. Private access to AWS Management Console is now available in the Israel region. Private access is an advanced security feature that will allow customers to define a set of trusted accounts that can access AWS Management Console from within their network. So that is another good feature for security. There's another thing about catalog API. RDS custom for Oracle is now available in the Asia Pacific, Jakarta, AWS region. And this one is a really interesting thing. Amazon Bedrock is now available in Asia, Tokyo, AWS region. QuickSight announces predictive analytics using Amazon SageMaker Canvas. Workspaces now provide bundle selection guidance. So many good news around this. So let's look at this about Bedrock. And you can see when I click on it, it links me to now the full blog around it. So all these high-performing foundational models from leading AI companies such as Anthropic, Cohere, Meta, Stability AI. That's a really interesting thing about Bedrock. Good. So I think we've now looked at how it works. So that is what was here. So the background is blue. Did you see that? You're able to see that? I think maybe it's blue. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm colorblind. Okay, then we're going to now get to the app and console. For you to get to the console, just click here. It will open in a new tab. So if it shows I need to log in, then click it again. Let's see. So click it a number of times. In the moment I see log in or maybe log back in, I just go back and click it. So I think I've had to click it around 3 times, but it might be different for you. So let's look at how this goes. So we are in a lab dark mode. So you allow me to just move it. You can just change it from this gear icon. So I'll just do that. Then once you're here, I need to go to ECS. So just maybe search ECS. It's not here. So let's use that. It is. So once I'm in, what am I supposed to do? I must maybe ensure that I'm in the new experience. Note the clusters page shows that one cluster, in addition to a single service, has been deployed in my account and 3 tasks. So that is what I'll expect to see. So I'll choose maybe the Fargate cluster link, and I'll choose the services tab to confirm that the Fargate service is running. It displays 3 out of 3 tasks are running. So 3 out of 3 tasks running means that there are 3 replicas in addition to those that are running concurrently. So let us have this. So I can see if I can click on this. And I go scroll down. If I go to the tasks tab, I can see there are 3 tasks running, and yeah, even in the services tab, I'm seeing that here. You can see it is here. 3 out of 3 tasks are running. Fine. Then I'll choose the Fargate service link. So this is the Fargate service link. And then what should I check here? So the status panel will show that the Fargate service is using an ALB called Fargate ALB to distribute traffic across 3 targets. And the targets are all in a healthy state and are mapped to my Amazon ECS stats. So on the top of the screen, so let's just confirm that. So you can see it is connected to Fargate ALB. All the targets are healthy. All the 3 targets are healthy, which is fine. Which are mapped to what? They are mapped to the 3 tasks. Awesome. Okay. So we're going to choose the deployments and events tab at the top of the screen. Then I'm going to review the information in the deployment configuration panel. Note that the deployment type is set to code deploy. These are requirements for blue-green deployments launched on Fargate with the code deploy. Deployment type code deploy can create a new green deployment which runs in parallel with your existing blue deployment. Which is nice. So let us go to deployment and events. See this, you can see it is in a steady white blue target group. Yeah, I think we're good. In terms of the service, look at the events. Those are just that. See, it is here. So let's confirm I'm in the right place. Let us see. So we're reading the Fargate service link. Deployment configuration. So you can see, I can see the deployment status and the deployment type. I don't know why. I'm just trying to refresh this fully. Because I expect to see code deploy. Maybe there's a reason why I'm not seeing it here. I'm seeing dashes, but let's move on. That's fine. To return, I'll choose Fargate class. Then the breadcrumbs are here, so I can just move to that part. And then I'll view the tasks that are running inside. We'll open the tasks tab. So this is the task tab. We'd already looked at these, and you can see we have some tasks here. Let me just zoom out a bit. That we have those tasks here, right? So there are 3 tasks in which the task definition is one or more container images to run in the task, in addition to various parameters, which can include the CPU and memory we are going to use with each task or each container within the task, the launch type to use, which determines the infrastructure that your tasks are hosted on. And you can see here we're using the Fargate, which just helps us ensuring that we don't really manage most of the infrastructure when it comes to the ECS, because there's a Fargate, then there's the EC2 instance launch type. And then there is the Docker networking mode to use for this, for the containers. So yeah, so you can see container instance, it's the first revision. And then the IAM role that your tasks are using. For example, let's see if it is going to show here. You can see the infrastructure. It's a Fargate sports. Yeah. So in the lower section of this, choose one of the listed tasks. So if I can choose this one, and then what do? So I review the information in the configuration panel, just ensuring that I pay particular attention to the launch type as well as the network mode. So we have to note that we are using the Fargate serverless compute engine for our case. However, because the AWS VPC network mode has been selected, the task has been assigned its own ENI, Elastic Network Interface. So this provides the task with the same networking properties that it would have if we had launched maybe an EC2 instance. So let us look at that. So we need to look at it under the configuration panel. So this is the configuration panel. You can see the launch type is Fargate, which is serverless, network mode AWS VPC, which is using this ENI. Good. Scroll to the bottom and locate the image URI and use the container. This as the URI will point to an image housed in the ECR. So you can see here it is the image URI, and you can confirm that it is ECR by looking at this. You can see it is already hosted in ECR. Okay, and then the next step will navigate to your ECR repository and turn on image tag immutability. So it's very important to ask ourselves what is really image tag immutability. So you can see turning on image tag immutability improves the security posture and mitigates against what we call image spoofing. So it does this by preventing image tags from being overwritten by subsequent pushes using the same tag. Yeah. So that means that just ensuring that tags are not overwritten, then you can even avoid image spoofing. So it's a security feature which is very important, image tag immutability. So in the Amazon ECS panel, the left side, select repository under ECR. One private repository will appear to the screen. Then we'll go to edit repository, general settings panel, turn on, choose the disable button. Let's do that. So here we have it under repositories. So it's loading. So here it is, we are here. So let us look at this. So this is the repository. We can confirm that it is here. It's a private repository, not a public. So if I select on it, first of all, I usually prefer selecting before I do anything. So I can click on it. So what are we supposed to do? Yeah, select, then go to edit action, edit repository, which is fine. I think that should be the case. Should go back here, select that actions, the edit section and edit the repository. And under tag immutability, I'll enable that. So from disabled to enabled, and I think if I click save, yes, I think that's the only thing I need to do. Then I click save. So once I'm there, so we've now understood how the AWS News application is configured within ECS. Now it's time to build a full money CI/CD pipeline. Wow, I've been waiting for this. So you need to configure code commit as a source control repository. So just connect to an Cloud9 environment that has been pre-populated with application source code. Then you're going to create configuration and specification files. So you remember we were told that you're going to create spec, a task dev.json, and what was the other file? I think it was app spec. If I'm not wrong. Let's check on it. App spec.yaml, a build spec file, as well as a task dev.json. So so you're going to edit the source code to change the application background color and save everything to the code commit repository. So you're going to retrieve the link located in the panel. The link is here. I'll just open it in another new tab. Just sure what. The app is still working. It's loading. So here is our Cloud9 environment. Looks almost similar as Visual Studio Code. Okay, we are here. So what do we need to do? So you already know, I already mentioned to you, it comes with the package with some of the different tools, such as including Docker, Python, as well as the most importantly, AWS CLI. So I'll choose X. I'll just remove this welcome screen as I've been asked. So at the top, I'll click on a new icon and choose new terminal. So maybe we can even close. I'll close that. Then I'll go to plus, let me see, terminal, close here at the top. You're having that. So let me just have more. So at the top, so we're going to view the files that we're going to push. So we're going to just ls list all that is in that environment. So let's just do that. I think we're already there. So I just do ls. Still, even if you do this, it's going to give you the same result. So we can see you're having a Docker file, an index.js, a package.json, a routes, as well as a static, and they're all here. It's in the side panel. So you can see that is that what you expect. So a Docker file is just a file that lists the commands that can be used to create an application Docker image. An index.js is a file that renders the application code and handles the routing. Package.json is the one that lists the metadata, the dependencies, as well as the scripts required by Node during the application build phase. Then the routes is just a directory that will contain the JS file that makes the request to an API that fetches the lists of announcements. Then static is a directory that contains files that define how the content should be organized and displayed on the screen. So if you look at them, for example, if you look at the static folder, having the CSS, the img, the JS files, under the routes, you can see we have a news.js. So if you try to look at this, you can see it's just an API require Axios Express link router. Then you can see it's using this URL. Then it is using it to pass that. Yeah, that's okay. So we're going to look at the Docker file, how it looks like. So let's use the command, just click into the Docker file, and you can see this is what it looks like, and what should we expect that. So this is what you should expect. All of that, so you can see it's going to create a working directory, user src app. So it's going to first of all leverage this, the node 18 image. Then use that, copy the package.json to the root. And then it's going to run a command, the npm install. Then it's going to copy the source code, the index.js to the current, routes to a folder called routes, static to a folder called to a directory called static. Then it's going to expose what heated, listen. Then it's going to run node index.js. So just a basic Docker file. It's going to build a Node.js and expose it to port 8. To launch this application, Amazon ECS will build a pipeline that automates this deployment, and you'll need 3 additional files: a buildspec.yaml, which is going to use the commands and parameters in the buildspec file. Code build is used that to build the Docker image. Then the appspec.yaml deploy use that file, select a task definition, the task def.json. Recall that all the 3 tasks that are currently running in ECS service reference the same task definition. So after we update the application source code and build a new container, you'll need a second task definition that points to it. So the task def.json file is going to be used to create new task definition that will point to our updated application image. That is nice. So we're going to create a buildspec .yaml file. So you can see in this, it's going to save all of these into. So you can see there are phases. You have the pre-build phase, you have the build phase, then you have the post-build phase, the artifacts, then at the end of the file. So you can see, as you can see here, so we can review the structure and note the following. So these commands, the commands in the buildspec are organized in phases. As you can see, this, the artifact section will point to the location, the configuration of the build output. So admins do not need to include all the phases in a buildspec file. However, the phase names should not be changed. So let's take a moment to review the structure. So the version is set to 0.2, as you can see here, because I believe they have the passed on. So then you have a pre-build phase, which is just an optional phase that is used to run commands before building the application. So in this example, we're going to use it to set the variables that we use throughout the build process and authenticate into ECR. So in some cases, for example, AWS default region, the file references the pre-configured code build environment variables, and in other cases, the variables are set using the shell commands. And then remember that each newly built image is tagged using the corresponding commit ID from code commit. And then the commands included in the build phase are run sequentially, that is one after the other. In this case, abort command has been included at the end of the build, if any. of the command thing. So that is why you're having this, right? On failure, on failure, abort. And then the post build phase will push the Docker image, producing the build phase to ECR. And then upon completion of the build will produce some artifacts called image detail.json and image definitions.json are saved in the environment root directory. So these files are used in the deploy phase of our pipeline to indicate which image to deploy to ECS. The artifact section specifies that the app spec.yaml as well as the taskdef.json files uploaded to our code commit will be included as our build outputs, because without these files, our deployment will definitely fail. Remember that because each new image is tagged with the corresponding commit ID of the commit image and image tag immutability has been turned on, you are now fully auditable. You now have a fully auditable chain of custody for each image. So we can know from this commit who made that commit and what was the corresponding image. You can easily audit that. Okay, so let's have our build spec.yaml file available. So I can just clear this. Then just that. And you can see we have it here. Found that it contains everything that we require. So you can see it is here. I think it should load the coloring. It's fine, and you can see it is there. It's okay. Good. Now we've already done that. Then now we are going to now create the appspec.yaml to look like that. And remember that the file does not point to a specific task definition. Then instead, the task definition label is populated with a place. So code build will replace that this part with the new task definition at build time. So you can optionally include additional information such as Lambda function that correspond to the lifecycle events during the Amazon ECS deployment in the app spec files. So this is just something else that you can do. You can Lambda for that correspond to the lifecycle events. So before we just create the taskdef.json, you just need to set some environment variables, and you can create those environment variables. So we're going, before we go to the taskdef, we need to create our appspec.yaml. So let's do this and run it. Now, we just clear that. Then we paste this. You're having it, and I can see it is here. Just to confirm, it is already set. Good. You can see it as that placeholder, task definition, and good. Then you need to, before you create our task, we're going to create the variables by entering that command. So this command is all about what? So as you can see, it's going to populate from the instance. It's going to get the region, and then another variable called the family, and then also our account ID. So you can see you're going to expect something like where the region that you are in, our task definition family, as well as our account ID. So let's run that. You can see we are in the US Eastern region. Our task definition family is that large stack, that random numbers. Our account ID is already put there. Good. Then lastly, to create a task.json, we're going to that. So you can see it's going to leverage the region, the family of variables that we created, which was the other environment variable created. So region, family, even account ID. We need you can see account ID is here. So let's get this task.json. So you can see it's going to leverage all these. But before you do that, remember the task definition is identical to the one that is currently running in your cluster, but it a different, just one important difference. The image label is using the image name placeholder, and when the pipeline is going to run, code deploy will update that value to be the correct image URI at deployment time. So remember the other time, the other one was going to update what code build is going to update what at build time. Task definition, right? It's going to replace that at build time. And then code deploy is going to update the image name at deployment time with the right image URI, which is going to have appeared. So also the file you reference an Amazon Cloud.log group, which must be included, otherwise different tasks will fail. So you can see that is why you can see it is using that log group CI/CD logs, and you can even check that out. And then remember that when you opened our AWS Tools application, the website background was blue. So you received feedback from your colleagues that the website is too dark. So they've asked you to change your background, and you can now modify the code to make the background green. And in the subsequent tasks, you build a blue-green deployment that uses the modified application code in the green environment. So I think we did this. We've done our task.json. Let's just confirm that. Okay, we haven't. You can see, I can see it. So let's create that. Like this. We run that. Then you can see we're having our task.json very clear. Wow, and you can see it has just used the right thing, the lab stack, they're all sorted now out. Good. Only that the image name placeholder is still there. We've already been told that code deploy is going to update that at deployment time. So to change the application background to green, we just enter this command. I'll not think too much about it. So it's going to update this app.css. I'm sure it is under that. It should be this one. Then you can see background color, blah blah blah. So you can see the background color, it looks like 282 F3D. Let's see what happens when we run that command here. Yes, you can see it's going to look for 282 F3D and replace it with 1D 8102. You see? It's interesting. Good. Awesome. So I think the background has been changed. So to create a new code commit for repository and save it in the secure, save its SSH connection URL to an environment variable, you're going to enter this. So we're going to export this. This one you're now leveraging the AWS CLI, AWS code commit, create a repository. The name is going to be called pipeline source code. The description is repository for the AWS News application source code. Then it's going to get the on URL SSH. Then it's going to be saved in that environment variable src underscore repo URL. So let's just run this. Clear this again. Then we have that. You can see repo create successfully created. Use that So this is our SSH. Yeah, good. Then once we have that, so to update the Git configuration, so we're going to enter the configuration like that. So just see that the default branch is the main. Nothing too much there. So we're going to initialize the environment directory as a local Git. So we're going to just ensure that this one is we're just doing Git init. You know about Git and Git commands. That is that. So to stage, you already know we're going to add everything that is in the current directory, call it an initial commit, and push it and set the upstream to the repo URL that we got new. So that's not too much to think about. So just run all that. I'll just say yes. You can see it's being uploaded. I think that has been successful. I can see that. If I just do a git status, let's see, everything is good. Okay. So that is the expected output. So we have now finished creating the code commit. We have now already uploaded our updated application source code. We've already created our build spec.yaml, our app spec, as well as our task definition. That's task.def.json. So we're now going to create a code deploy application in the deployment group. So here we're going to prepare our blue-green deployment by creating a code deploy application as well as our deployment. An application is just a name that uniquely identifies the code that you want to deploy. So get deploy use an application to ensure the correct combination of revision, deployment, configuration, instances, and auto-scaling groups are referenced when the pipeline is involved. So application work hand in hand with deployment groups. So code deploy use deployment groups to specify the ECS service, the load balancer, as well as the target groups for our revised application code. So these can also include the configuration detail, which also includes how, as well as when the traffic should be rerouted to the new tasks that your pipeline will create, which my pipeline will create. So I'm going to go to the management console. So after that, so remember that we're using USist1, and then I'm going to open the code deploy console. So we're typing, I'll use that. Then I will developer tools panel. Under deploy, I'll choose application, create a new application. I'll call it AWS news application. So this one is a better thing to copy. And then for compute platform, we're going to choose ECS. Then in the lower area, you can create an application. So let's do that. Let's go to code deploy here in this case. New tab. It's loading. First that loads. So we're going, after we create an application, I've been told it works hand in hand with a deployment group. We're going to create a deployment group. Then for the service role, we're going to see code deploy service role. We're going to leverage that role. For the environment, we're going to choose the ECS cluster new Fargate cluster. Remember that. And then we have the ECS service as Fargate service. If you remember very well, that is what you are leveraging. Good. For answer, I'm going to choose the Fargate ALB. Production listener port is 80. Test listener port, so I don't need that. But if you need, you can have a test port, listener port, where you can just put that port on the together with the URL and just have it load there. So then you're going to have target group 1. endpoint, call it with the blue target group. And then target group 2 is going to be, because we're having a blue-green deployment, green target group. Good. So for deployment settings, traffic rerouting, ensure that reroute traffic immediately is selected. So for regional revision termination, I'm going to set it to 5 minutes, 0 days, 0 hours, and 5 minutes. And I'm going to create a deployment group. Wow, nice, 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 nice. So let us try this out. So well, we are supposed to start by going to deploy, then choose applications, then you create application. So here, application, then you create an application, call it AWS news application. Compute platform is our ECS. Remember that you have an option, you can use Lambda or EC2 on premise. And when you're creating an application, then you just create an application. You can tag your resources if you want to. That's very important. Then we can now create the deployment, usually takes us there. Deployment group name, I think I need to just leverage it here. And the service role is called deploy service role, Fargate cluster, Fargate service, LB. So let's just move with this. So service role, then just choose the one that is there. Service name, already had that set up for us using the LB. But if you haven't created, you'll have to use that. You have to create them. You don't need the test listeners. Group 1, I'm going to use group 1 is the blue. Group 1 is the blue and group 2 is the green. 1 is the blue and group 2 is the green. And then for deployment settings, traffic rerouting, ensure reroute traffic immediately is selected. So I think it is done, but you can choose when to reroute traffic. If you decide to choose that, you have to set up all that. But let's use that as guided. Then from that, we'll add a second target group called the green target group to your service. Both target groups will run in parallel for 5 minutes, so you can test the new target group and roll back at the end of 5 minutes. The original target group will be terminated. So after that, we'll be already had with our source code in code commit, our code and our code deploy application, and we're now ready to build the pipeline. So let's just complete this. I think this one should have been 0 days, 0 hours, and 5 minutes. That is created. Now it's time to build our CI/CD pipeline. Wow, we're here. So we're going to use code pipeline, obviously, to configure a line that will automate the release process of the application. And when complete, we'll know that pipeline will invoke whenever commit detect a change. At this point, code commit will build a new image that pushes it to ECR, and then code deploy will deploy the new image to our AWS cluster. So we're going to go to code pipeline. I think our pipeline, I'm going to call it that. We're going to use an existing service role, and then we're going to use code pipeline service role. So remember that these roles were pre-created for us in this lab, but in some cases, if it's your own account, you'll have to create them yourself. Then you're going to expand an advanced settings section, then artifacts. So we're going to choose a custom location. Then we're going to choose the artifact with a name similar to code pipeline artifact bucket. And this has been pre-created for us in the lab. So let's remember this, what we need to consider. You will configure a code pipeline that is invoked whenever new code is pushed to our code commit. However, However, code pipeline is highly versatile and can be invoked by various objects and events, including it can monitor a branch in a code commit, GitHub, Bitbucket repository is invoked when new code is committed to it. It can also monitor an object or folder in an S3 bucket and is invoked whenever changes are detected. Then it can also monitor an image repository and is invoked whenever a new image is pushed to ECR. So I need to finish this part of creating the pipeline. So did our deployment create? Good. So I think I'll just go, I don't need to type pipeline here. I'll just go to the side here. You can see now we have a developer tools usually put together. So if I put here pipeline, choose pipeline, I'll be taken to the section where I can leverage now that. So let's create our pipeline. What do I need to do? I'll just use AWS, the name AWS Service Pipeline. I'm going to use that existing advanced, then I'm going to use the artifact. For source provider, I'm going to use code commit. Then we're going to use the repository version pipeline source code. Then I'm going to choose the main branch. And then we are going to choose leverage the remaining settings remain unchanged. So let's do this. So pipeline name, I don't think we need to worry about that. Existing service role, using that. Might get an error if you try to use the new. You might not be, your account may not be having the privileges to do that. For artifact store, you're going to use a custom location called pipeline artifact bucket, if I'm not wrong. Yes, it is. Then you're going to choose next. And in next, you're going to choose a provider. Already, you know, if you want, you can use GitHub. Sure. Application code is there. Right now, you're using code commit. In goodness, the good thing about using code commit is it makes it easier because everything is within the same. It's an AWS service. So that repository is pipeline source code. Change detection options. Let's see whether we need to set that up. Keep the remaining settings unchanged. Oh yeah, branches, the main branch. So the build provider, we already know we're going to use code build. Did I talk about that? And then for the region, we're going to match the value shown in the panel to the left, which is US East 1. And then we're going to choose create project. Oh, is it create project or create pipeline? Okay, oh yeah, these are create project. So US East 1, I think it's fine. So we're going to choose create project. If I do that, and then a pop-up window will appear, AWS project. And then we're going to scroll down to the environment. For environment image, we're going to use managed image, Amazon Linux 2, runtime, we're going to choose standard. Then we're going to use the 4.0 x86 64 image version. We're going to use the latest image at runtime, Linux. And then privileged, we're going to enable this flag if you want to build Docker or images, or if you want to build to get elevated privileges, which is fine. Then we're going to use existing the code build service role that was created. Then we're going to clear the check mark for allow code build to modify this service so it can be used with this build project checkbox. So let's finish that part. That's the pop-up, it's coming up. Very interesting. Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. So call it that. And I think manage image, Amazon Linux 2, runtime standard. I think it was x86, 64, standard 4.0. Always use, I think it's fine. Environment type Linux EC2, we're going to enable privileged existing service role, we're going to use the code bit service, and then we're going to uncheck that. So then scroll down to the logs panel. For log name, we're going to call CI/CD logs. For streaming, we'll say code build. So that will appear here. That should be code build, right? It should be code build. Code build. And say continue the code pipeline. Or should I? Let's see if I can now see. I think it's here. So once you're back, so you're going to see this, then choose next, add a deploy stage, then deploy provider is ECS blue green. So the ECS blue green is near the bottom of the drop down. If it is not visible, you may need to scroll down further the list. And then the region, you're going to obviously use the ES East one, code deploy application, AWS application, deployment group that you created, the task definition, you're going to choose build artifact, keep the text field next to it empty, and then app spec, choose build artifact and keep the text field next to it empty. For input artifact, the image details, the text box beneath it, enter image name, and then I'm going to choose next. So the review page will display the details of the pipeline that you just configured. It is going to use the code commit to build an image and push it to ECR. The appspec.yml as well as the taskdef.json files will be used to create an isolated environment for deployment. And then code deploy will then reroute the load balancer traffic from the containers that run in the blue environment to the new set of containers that run in the green environment. Then after the traffic has been successfully routed to the new containers, the existing containers are going to be terminated. And then it's going to be a time to test our pipeline. So I think we're going to go to next, is a review stage. Deploy stage, right? Yeah. So I think I need to just choose ECS blue green. Don't confuse that with this one. So just choose this one. I think a good use is one application. We have it. Deployment group, we have it. Task definition, we just use this one, and then I'm going to leave it the way it is. It shows us a way to look for a file called taskdef.json, look for a file called artifact.yaml, input artifact, we're going to use build artifact, and we're going to use image name. You can see it would have looked for image, which will not be there. So you can look for image. Then going to next. So you can see that is the view which we have already done. As you can see, the pipeline name, the artifact location where it is, the service role that is going to be used, our source stage, provider is called commit, the depositor is called that on the main branch. Then it's going to check for source changes. And then the output artifact format is called zip. Then at the code build, at the build stage, is going to leverage code build. And then the project name is start. And then at the deploy stage, is going to use the blue-green deployment type for ECS. The application name is the one that we created, the deployment group. Then it's going to just use build artifact, build artifact, build artifact. You already know that it's going to look for the class def.json, the abstract.yaml. And here for image, it's going to use our placeholder, which is image name. So we're going to create the pipeline. Then obviously after this, it's just about holding, crossing our fingers, and then, so we've already configured and initiated the blue green. So the only thing is for us to observe. So when the pipeline passes the build phase, so we're going to see some things here. So we need to ensure that we don't miss these things. So you can see the source stage has just succeeded. It has already pulled the code from code commit. It is now at the build stage. So at this point, you already remember that build is going to now create an image. Yes. So we are leveraging the build spec.yaml. Build spec file to run the command. At this stage, just expect that the deploy stage, code deploy is going to be used. Then if it succeeds, traffic will be routed from the blue to the green, and then termination local for all the containers from in the blue. Okay, so the build has just completed successfully. So we are now at the deploy. So just observing what is happening. If you want, you can check the logs to see what happened. And then we're going to expect that the deploy stage, traffic will be rerouted. Then we're going to expect our new application, we're going to have a different background to confirm that our CI/CD pipeline was configured successfully. So wait for it as you see this progress. Look a bit of a minute. Let us see what is here. So you can see in progress. It takes up to 1 to 2 minutes for code build to provision. The deployment space will now go through 4 steps. ECS uses the task dev to build a new task definition, code deploy route traffic to the new task set. The original task remain live for 5 minutes after traffic has been rerouted. During this time, you can perform testing and invoke a rollback if you detect some. Some can decide it can take a bit, 5 minutes is too short, can increase that time. You remember where we were setting that up. And then after that, the original task set is terminated. So wait for deployment to reach step 3 and then return to the browser and refresh. Confirm that the website background is green, which indicates that the deployment was successful. So just confirm it is still deploying. So at refresh. And because you have confirmed that the deployment was successful, you do not the entire 5 minutes before terminating the original task set. So you choose terminate original task set. So we're going to see that. Then scroll to the deployment lifecycle events panel at the bottom of the page and confirm. So this one is under which in the developer tools called deploy, choose deployments. So we can do that. So we can go to deploy, deployments. Then we can check on the deployment ID. And we look at the deployment history. So you can see it is here. Let's see your details. You can see it is still on step 3. So you can see it is deploying, that has happened, there's rerouting. Let's see if we try to refresh. Wow, has worked. It's finished. So some traffic is already being rerouted where the green, that is, I think, a good the lab showing you that we are now using the green deployment. It has been configured. And so I think this is a brand new lab, blah, blah, blah. I would appreciate your feedback. So survey, if you want, you can take a survey. So remember that we have now successfully configured code commit as a source control repository. And then we've used a code build project that uses a build spec file to build a new Docker image and saved it to ECR using an auditable. And how is it auditable? It's because it is using the commit ID as part of the image name. So you can easily fit that. Then also we introduced tag immutability to ensure that we avoid image spoofing. Then we have also created an abstract.yaml as well as the task.json files, which are being used at the deploying stage. Then we have performed an in-place application upgrade using the blue-green deployment strategy and configured in deploy and ECS. So yeah, you can leverage more advanced developing on AWS, the free 7-day trial, or even you can use Skill Builder team subscription. If you want an introduction to what is called pipeline, you can just check that the Amazon documentation. You can also get to know more about local deployments there. And also you can practice CI, all that also is under documentation. Okay, that's confirmed. So you can see we don't have to wait 5 minutes, but it is, you can see it has been waiting, but you can see terminate original task set. We can just do that. See, you can, when you go back to our code pipeline, you go to pipelines. This, why is it saying that it is in progress? Let our deploy stage is done. Let's see. Should ensure that it is now fully succeeded. Yeah, it is succeeded. And the pipeline has a source volume. That I think that is succeeded. Or these are succeeded. Let's just load that one more. It has worked and you're good to go. I hope that was a good learning. If you loved that, feel free to just subscribe just to get more content content when I release that. So hope I just end this lab. Also, I'll log out just to ensure that I will not have traces of the environment. This will end after a while. I think I'll just log out of that. It's good. So that was interesting, and I hope you loved that. Just make sure. Thank you once again, and see you soon. Thank you so much. Hope that was nice.